The NBA is absolutely on fire right now. Trades are going down left and right, or trades are about to go down left and right because the NBA trade deadline is tomorrow. Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zachary, and we have a heck of a lot to talk about regarding the NBA today. So the biggest news that we gotta cover so far is Tobias Harris being traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. When I heard this news this morning, I jumped out of bed so quickly because this is a massive trade. Now, Tobias Harris might not be the biggest name in the NBA. He's a really good player, but a lot of the casual fans, the fans that don't really follow the NBA like that, won't really know who Tobias Harris is. But this is a guy who's averaging around 20 points per game for the Los Angeles Clippers. If he was in the Eastern Conference before, he probably would have been an all-star this year. He was the Clippers' leading scorer, and he was helping to keep them in the playoff race in the Western Conference. That's extremely impressive. Now he's going to be on the Philadelphia 76ers in the East. And I love Tobias Harris, loved him during his time with the Pistons, but I will say that the guy isn't supposed to be the #1 scoring option on a championship caliber team. He'd be better suited towards a third option on offense. And with Philly, that's exactly what he will be. So for Philly, I think this was an amazing trade as long as they're able to re-sign both Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler over the offseason. And according to reports, that's exactly what they plan on doing, which is great. As for what the Sixers had to give up to get Tobias Harris, it was actually quite a bit. The rookie Landry Shamet, Mike Muscala, as well as Wilson Chandler, plus 4 future draft picks, 2 future first-round draft picks, as well as 2 future second-round draft picks. So they did have to give up a lot to get Tobias Harris, but I think it's worth it because right now, as long as this does work out, and knowing Tobias Harris and the type of player he is, how unselfish he is, how team first he is, and how versatile he is, I don't really doubt that this will work out tremendously for the Philadelphia 76ers. Right now, they have to be right up there with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors as the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. And once the buyout season happens, if the Sixers are able to land a couple more bench pieces, then they might just be the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. This team is looking absolutely stacked with the starting lineup of Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. As for the Los Angeles Clippers, this was a really good trade for them too. Tobias Harris is on an expiring contract. He wasn't really in the Clippers' long-term plans. He would be nice to keep, but I don't think they were going to be willing to pay the price they would have to pay in order to keep him. So they went out and got 4 draft picks for him. That's a heck of a lot of draft picks. And it gets you thinking that maybe the Los Angeles Clippers did this in an attempt to try and trade for Anthony Davis, since the Clippers were mentioned as one of the teams that Anthony Davis would sign a long-term contract with once he becomes a free agent. Now the Clippers have a lot of draft picks, meaning that that'll help them in their offer for Anthony Davis. That being said, I do not think you should expect any team to trade for Anthony Davis this season. I really think it's going to happen over the offseason. The trade deadline is tomorrow. I don't think the Los Angeles Clippers are going to flip the picks that quickly for Anthony Davis, and I don't think the New Orleans Pelicans will be interested in moving Anthony Davis right now, mainly because what's the rush? They can wait until the offseason, let some of our teams get in the bidding, see where teams finish in the standings, what they'll get with their draft picks. They'll have a lot much more information to go off of if they wait until the offseason. Overall, I'd say this was a great trade for both teams. Both teams got what they were looking for in exchange from one another, even if the Philadelphia 76ers did have to pay a premium to trade for Tobias Harris, and it does rely on whether or not they're able to re-sign both Tobias and Jimmy Butler this offseason. Next up though, we gotta talk about my Detroit Pistons because it seems like they're about to make a heck of a lot of moves within the next 24 hours. They're already on the verge of making 2 pretty minor deals, but minor deals that don't make sense on their own and are precautionary moves that say something bigger is coming, as the Detroit Pistons are trading Stanley Johnson to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for Thon Maker. Now, when I saw this news, I was kind of heartbroken because as a Pistons fan, Stanley Johnson was one of those players that I kept pulling for. I was like, he's gonna break out one day. He has all of the tools, he has the body necessary, he has the strength, he has the defense, he just needs the offense to progress, and he can become a really good player in the NBA. I kept saying that and saying that and saying that. It never really happened, and now they traded him for Thon Maker. So I'm wishing Stanley Johnson nothing but the best in Milwaukee, and I hope alongside Giannis he can develop, because if he develops alongside Giannis, that's about to be a serious problem for the rest of the NBA. And this also tells me that I'm pretty sure Andre Drummond's days in Detroit could be done. They just traded for a young center as a prospect. They just traded away Stanley Johnson, who is one of Andre Drummond's best friends in the league, for Thon Maker, a move that definitely doesn't help them win right now. And not to mention, they just traded away Reggie Bullock to the Los Angeles Lakers for pretty much a second round draft pick. Now, Reggie Bullock was the Detroit Pistons starting two guard, and they traded him for a future second round draft pick. If that right there does not tell you that this Pistons team is about to make some big moves, either trading for Marc Gasol and Mike Conley like they've been rumored to do for the past week, or completely blowing up the roster and restarting. One of those two things is bound to happen. I believe if the Pistons cannot trade for Marc Gasol or Mike Conley, you will see them looking to blow up this roster before the trade deadline. They're going to hit the reset button and just try and develop Thon Maker, Luke Kennard, and tank for the bottom this year. It's Conley and Gasol or tank, and honestly, as a Pistons fan, I'm leaning towards tank. Why trade for Mark Conley and Mike Gasol? Think about it. Does that trade actually make you championship contenders? No, I think in the Eastern Conference, it's good enough to get you in the playoffs. You'll have Mike Conley, Marc Gasol, and Blake Griffin. That's a really good core, but you won't really have anyone else. And not to mention that Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, they're both as good as they're going to get right now. Next season, they're not about to come back better than this season, considering they're both now in their 30s. So it does not make much sense at all for the Pistons to trade for a couple of aging stars just to make the playoffs. Yeah, just to make the playoffs. I'd rather see them rebuild. So apparently teams are interested in trading for Andrew Wiggins. And when I saw this headline, I did a double, quadruple, and quintuple take. I had to look 5 times just to make sure I wasn't misreading things, because teams are interested in Andrew Wiggins. Do they not know how poorly Andrew Wiggins has been playing for the past couple of seasons and the size of his behemoth contract? What team out there is interested in Andrew Wiggins? That's all I want to know. However, I guess it doesn't matter, as for some reason, the Wolves have said that they want to hold on to Andrew Wiggins, mainly because they believe that Andrew Wiggins developing into the player that we all thought that he was going to be is the only thing that's going to save the organization. Now, I guess that does make sense. I know the offers the Wolves were getting for Andrew Wiggins weren't very good. His trade value is at an all-time low of the low. They're probably being asked to take on just a bunch of bad contracts and maybe being given a future first-round draft pick in exchange for Andrew Wiggins. And if that's the case, if you're Minnesota, I guess I'm holding on to Andrew Wiggins too, because taking that offer is a lot worse than just hoping and praying that something happens and he can develop into the player that they all thought he was going to be next to Karl Anthony Towns. But for the Wolves, actually banking on Andrew Wiggins to become that player, that seems like a losing bet at this point. I don't know if he can become that player in Minnesota. If he gets traded, maybe. A change of scenery sometimes does do a lot of players really good. So while the Wolves aren't looking to trade him right now, I think they will maybe after this season. Maybe after this season ends and they see that Andrew Wiggins still hasn't become more consistent, he still hasn't become the player that they need him to be, that's when they'll look to trade him. But just because they trade him doesn't mean they're gonna get a lot for him. They're not about to get anything when they do decide to trade Andrew Wiggins. The Los Angeles Lakers are giving up on the Anthony Davis trade pursuit. At least that's what reports are making it sound like. As yesterday, after we were getting report out after report out saying that the Lakers were on the phone with Dell Demps and the New Orleans Pelicans trying to work out a trade for Anthony Davis, the Lakers finally call it off, as they just say that the New Orleans Pelicans asking price for Anthony Davis is completely outrageous and they're not going to take any part of it. And what it sounds like is the Lakers were offering pretty much all of their young pieces as well as future first round draft picks for Anthony Davis. And if the New Orleans Pelicans are going to say no to that, then what else do the Lakers have to offer? What, you want LeBron James for Anthony Davis? But if you're a Lakers fan, this is bad news right now. You're not going to be getting Anthony Davis this season. But I think what it means is the Pelicans are just holding on. They're going to be playing really hard to get. If a team wants to trade for Anthony Davis this season, they're going to be paying a lot higher a price than they would be if they waited to the offseason, because the Pelicans are trying to wait for the offseason. They're still trying to give Boston a chance to become involved. They want to see what teams land where in the NBA draft, what draft picks they can get, which players and picks will be the most valuable. They'll have all that information at their disposal once the season ends, and that's what they're going to be looking to trade Anthony Davis. So once again, any team that's trying to trade for him right now is going to have a very hard time trying to convince the Pelicans. And if they do, they're going to give up a package that's not worth it. Like I said though, we had so much happening in the NBA and it's only going to continue to get worse. I expect there to be another trade today. I expect there to be more trades tomorrow. And if that happens, you might see me hopping back on here today if a big enough trade happens. That being said, if nothing does happen, you can definitely expect to see me back here tomorrow. I'm planning on doing, or I'm thinking about doing, a little bit of a live stream during the NBA trade deadline tomorrow. Let me know what you would think about that down in the comment section below. If that's something that you would like to see, then definitely let me know because I will gladly do it. That being said though, for today, that's actually everything that we gotta talk about. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, then go ahead and leave a like on it, as well as make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but that being said, until tomorrow, I am out of here. Peace!